Mayor Kumas, members of council, I'm Jim Golden, the city's Director of Finance. This is one of our tape presentations of our priority-based budgeting updates. Priority-based budgeting is an approach to budgeting that we've undertaken over the last few years that evaluates our city programs against the desired results that were identified by the City Council, as well as some key program attributes that are a part of priority-based budgeting. The desired results that were identified by the City Council for the organization for community programs were vibrant amenities and opportunities for all, safe community, a reliable, innovative, and resilient infrastructure, and thriving economic climate. And on this slide, you could see the weighting that was applied to these four desired results by our community through community input that was gathered in 2014. The desired results for governance programs were also identified by the City Council, and they include ensuring timely, responsive, and efficient operations, supporting city operations to be their best, providing clear, inclusive, transparent leadership and collaboration, and developing and maintaining strong partnerships, following local, state, and federal rules, regulations, and mandates, protecting, investing in, and valuing the city's human and physical capital, and prudently managing and responsibly leveraging public funds. Besides these desired results, all of the city's programs are measured against program attributes. And the priority-based budgeting program attributes were identified by the Center for Priority-Based Budgeting that pioneered this approach. The attributes that are used include the mandate to provide a program, reliance on the city to provide the program, the cost recovery of the program, and the portion of the community that is served by the program. So each of our programs are measured against each of these four attributes, as well as their ability to impact the desired results. We have, citywide, we have 1,244 programs that have been identified in this process. 527 of those are in the general fund. And then within those 1,244, we have 737 distinct programs. So we have a number of programs that are offered in multiple areas of the city, different funds, as well as divisions and departments. So there is some repetition, but overall there's 737 distinct programs. Also, these 1,244 programs can be broken down that 1,082 of them are community-oriented, while the remaining 162 are governance-type programs. After all the programs are scored against the desired results and the attributes, they are then given an overall score, and they are then placed in quartiles, quartile 1 through 4, with the highest scoring programs placed in the first quartile and the lowest scoring programs placed in the fourth quartile. And they are placed across these four quartiles through a process of standard deviation. So what we're doing is we have been presenting priority-based budgeting updates to the council. We did our first 3 in person. We're taping the balance of the remaining 10 presentations. And so you'll be getting 10 different priority-based budgeting updates taped delivered to you. We have focused on 3 of the attributes through the presentations that we made to the council. The remaining updates will be on the last attribute and the 9 desired results that were identified. And we'll go through, take each of the updates, we'll go through how each program is influencing the attributes or the results. So this is priority-based budgeting update number 12. It's number 12 of 13 updates, and this is the 4th of our updates on the governance results or definitions. This one is on protect, invest in, and value the city's human and physical capital. So what we have shortened this down to is human and physical capital. But so first, what we're doing here with desired results for governance programs, the council has identified this result map, which identifies the overall individual result of responsible internal operations and governance. And then circling it here, surrounding it is 7 result definitions that support or define responsible internal operations and governance. So in this case, we're looking at this one here, it's highlighted in white, which is the city's human and physical capital is protected, invested in, and valued, or as I mentioned, shortened down to human and physical capital. So we have taken these 7 definitions, we've taken 4 of them and combined them into 2 so that we overall have 5 results definitions to support the responsible internal operations and governance. And so we did that so that we would be able to score these easier last year in our scoring process. So we combined a couple that were very similar in nature. So what we are doing with these program definitions, we're taking each of our individual governance programs and evaluating them against these results and determining how a program influences the successful accomplishment of the desired result. And we're doing that through a scoring system, and we're scoring those programs based from 0 to 4, with 4 being the highest score. And that indicates that a program has an essential or critical role in achieving the desired result. And so what that means with a 4 score is that if we didn't offer the program, the city didn't offer the program, then it probably would not be able to achieve the overall desired result. A score of a 3 indicates the program has a very strong influence on achieving the desired result. A score of 2 indicates a program has some influence on achieving their desired result of human and physical capital. A score of 1 shows that a program has a minimal influence on achieving the result. And so in this case, even though it does have some influence, as low of an influence as it has, the city could probably manage to not offer that program and still be able to achieve the overall desired result. And then a score of 0, program has absolutely no influence at all on achieving the desired result. So again, what we've done as in the past, we've put together this summary analysis that is classifying the program costs and the program number of programs as they influence the desired result of, in this case, human and physical capital. And we've summarized them by departments and divisions. So as in the past, we have all city departments and divisions listed, but with the governance programs, these areas, some areas actually have no governance programs. So you'll see municipal court, power and communications, and public safety, the ones that are shaded slightly differently. You can see that they actually have no programs and no cost in the total column. So what we will be doing is taking a look at each of the other areas, and we will be measuring how much cost and programs per department are shown in each of these different categories, scoring categories. So the first scoring category is the number of programs that are essential to the result. In the leading area or department is Public Works and Natural Resources, having 22 programs that are essential to the result. Where programs have a strong influence on the desired result of human and physical capital, we have 23 programs in shared services. Where programs have some influence on the desired result of human and physical capital, we have 10 programs in finance. And where programs have some influence on the result, though minimal, we have 11 programs in Public Works and Natural Resources. And then finally, where programs have no influence on the result, we have 15 programs in the finance department. Again, in the case of governance programs, you'll find that the finance
Public Works and Natural Resources and Shared Services have the most number of programs and the most dollars as well. Certainly in the over 50% of the budget for governance programs is in the shared services area. So they do pop up quite frequently as leaders on this list. So now looking at the costs, the leading costs for programs that are essential to the result of human and physical capital, Public Works and Natural Resources at $2.8 million leads for essential programs. For programs that have a strong influence on the result, $7.9 million in shared services. For programs that have some influence on the result, we have $1.17 million in shared services. And then for programs that have minimal influence on the result, $1.35 million in shared services. And where programs have no influence on the result of human and physical capital, $2.1 million in the finance area. So now what we're going to do is to just concentrate on the general fund. So where we had 162 programs overall in the governance area and a $20.6 million budget for governance programs. Instead, for just general fund governance programs, we have 121 governance programs, and they account for $13.65 million. So what we're going to do is look at how those programs influence the human and physical capital result. But we are going to do that by using the Resource Alignment Diagnostic Tool, the RAD tool. And you can follow this beginning on page 10 of the prioritization update. And this screenshot here that I'm showing is on page 10. And it is looking at those programs that are essential to the human and physical capital desired result. Again, we're just looking at general fund governance programs. We have 20 programs, $3.95 million, almost 29% of the general fund governance program's budget. They fall into, this graph shows the quartile ranking, and programs are scored 1 through 4 quartile-wise based on their overall score on how they influence all of the attributes that we've looked at, as well as all 5 of the desired results in the governance area. So their overall score for these programs, in this case, we have 9 programs for $1.5 million that fall into the highest quartile, quartile 1, the highest scores. In quartile 2, we have 9 programs for $1.28 million. And in quartile 3, 2 programs for $1.1 million. And then we have none in quartile 4. So now, bear with me a minute. I will change the criteria here on that filter, and we will now look at those programs that have a strong influence on achieving the desired result of human and physical capital. We have 26 programs, $3.57 million. That's 26.2% of the general fund governance budgets. In the first quartile, we have 13 programs for $1.75 million. We have 8 programs in the second quartile for $1.3 million. And then we have 5 programs in the third quartile for about $500,000. Okay, once more to change the filter now to those programs that have some influence on achieving the desired result of human and physical capital. And this screenshot is on page 12 of the prioritization update. We have 30 programs at $2.8 million budget, which is 20.5% of the overall general fund governance programs cost budgets. So in this case, we have 3 programs in the first quartile for $335,000. We have 10 in the second quartile for $580,000. And we have 12 programs in the third quartile at $1.7 million. And then finally, 5 programs in the last quartile at $173,000. Excuse me. So I will change the criteria one more time to a score of 1, which is where programs have a minimal influence on achieving the desired result of human and physical capital. And you can find this on page 13. We have 20 programs that fall into that category, $735,000, so just 5.4% of the general fund governance budgets. None of these programs fall into the first quartile. We have 4 in the second quartile, but only $64,000 of budget there. We have 8 in the third quartile for $328,000, and then we have 8 in the last fourth quartile for $343,000. So not a lot of representation there, but those that are that fall into the third and fourth quartile. And again, this with these governance programs, because these results are so different, most programs do not have a ability to influence a number of these desired results that support governance. And as a result, there's a lot of overall scores that fall into the third and fourth quartiles. So what we've got here is showing us those programs that have no influence on the desired result. And what we are showing is that we have 25 programs at $2.6 million. It's 19% of the total general fund governance budget. There's only 1 program that falls into the first quartile for almost $79,000. 2 programs in the second quartile for $126,000. We have 6 programs in quartile 3 at $1.5 million, and 16 programs in quartile 4 at $850,000. So we find that in the last 2 screenshots, we've seen those general fund governance programs that have minimal impact or no impact on influencing the human and physical capital desired result, and those are those make up 37.2% of the general fund governance program overall, and 24.4% of the overall general governance budget. So it's 45 programs at $3.3 million that have minimal or no influence on the overall desired result of human and physical capital. So again, now we have given you in your update, we have given you the lists of the governance programs. They follow those screenshots, and you can use those lists to look up any of the programs to find out how they've scored against this desired result of human and physical capital, or to also see their overall score or overall quartile. And so these lists are sorted by program scoring, and then by department and division, and by quartile. So what I'm going to do in this case is take another step on this update, different from the others that I've taped so far, and I'm going to refer you to the list for the detail on the individual program. I'm going to kind of take you through that, take the next step of taking you through those lists to use them as an example, because I want to be able to make sure that you have a good feel for what can be done with this information and how you can find out more about these programs and this information that I've been presenting to this point. So you can follow me in the prioritization update you received with this presentation. I'm going to take us back to the last screenshot we were looking at, and that screenshot is on page 14 of the prioritization update. And this is, again, the screenshot for those general fund governance programs that have no influence on the human and physical capital desired result. So again, looking at this, we see that we've got 6 programs in quartile 3, 16 programs in quartile 4. Let's go 1.5 million in quartile 3, $849,000 in quartile 4. So you may want to then take an interest to find out, well, what programs are those and what are those about? And why would they be falling into this area of quartile 3 or 4 overall? Or why do they have no influence on this human and physical capital desired result? So if you go to your prioritization update and look on page 18, what you'll find is all of the programs that are represented on this rad tool screenshot. So the 25 programs, these are all shown, coincidentally, they all show up on page 18 of the update. And you can see in the far left column, it tells you programs that have no influence on the result. So you'll follow across the page, you can see about 3/4 of the way across, you see quartile group. And so you'll see each of the, where each of these individual programs fall into which quartile. So if you're wondering why there's so much dollars or number of programs in quartile 3 or 4, you can look them up there and see quartile 3, quartile 4. So again, we have in quartile 3, about halfway down the page or so, you see that we've got 3 programs in finance and utility billing involved with, and they're pretty large dollar amounts, starting with $575,000 on the far right, $338,000, and $440,000. And those programs all are involved with utility billing, calculating and producing bills, connecting and disconnecting service, and finally payment arrangements and collections. Well, none of those really have any influence on our desired result of human and physical capital, or they have very little influence, I should say. And so you see that well, they have no influence. That's why they're on this page. Every program shown on this page have no influence on that desired result. But their overall score against all of the 5 attributes that we've looked at, or the 4 attributes we used, and the 5 desired results of governance, their overall score puts them in the 3rd quartile. Again, this is a narrowly defined program, and if you start to look at this program compared to all 5 of the desired results that we're looking at, you'll note that it only will achieve a little bit of them, if any at all. And so that's why this overall score is falling into the 3rd quartile. Let's look at the 4th quartile now. Again, there's some 4th quartile programs. I'm picking on finance since I have a lot of dollars and programs showing up in these low areas, and I'm also familiar with these programs. So looking above the utility billing area and looking at these quartile 4 programs, you find that there is sales tax programs, a number of sales tax programs, auditing, collections, customer service, processing returns, and reporting. So each of those are in a quartile 4 because they have no influence on human and physical capital. That's why they're on this page. And they have very little influence on each of the desired results that we've identified. So this gives you the idea that we do have programs that we're doing right now that are going to score low, and they're going to be showing up in the 4th quartile. And in the beginning of this process, we gave you the full list of where each program lands in each quartile. And you can concentrate on the lower quartiles if you want to see what it is we're doing, that we're putting our dollars, our efforts into, and whether or not we should be continuing some of these programs or not, and why do they not have influence on our desired results. And some of this could be with the way we've defined our results. We've tried to be as broad as possible, but once we get down to actually applying some of our programs, we may have programs that we think are important to us, and certainly some of these sales tax programs are valuable to us because it's bringing in one of our most important sources of revenues for the general fund. But these programs will not have a lot of influence on the identified desired results. So should we stop doing these programs because they're low scored? Possibly not, because they are valuable in the sense that they bring in very important dollars. Some of these program scores may change when we begin to consider cost recovery, because some of these programs do have full cost recovery. Utility billing does. Some of the sales tax programs, if you consider the collections and auditing, those have full cost recovery. And so that might raise the overall score of these programs as we go forward into the future, assuming we change the cost recovery attribute. But even still, they're still going to probably end up third to fourth quartile overall anyway. Probably doesn't mean that we should stop doing these programs, but it probably does mean that we should really consider carefully before we put any more resources into these type of programs. And we also might be able to look at some of these programs to see, is there another way that we can deliver the service? Can we combine programs somewhere so that we can reduce the amount of cost that is being spent on these individual programs while still maybe getting the same overall result that we desire out of those programs? So again, this is a way that we could be able to evaluate our individual programs as we go forward and decide what makes sense for us, where we should be putting our resources into the future. Now, hopefully this gives you a little bit of a better idea of how to utilize the information that we've been presenting so far, and to follow through into the list that we have given you in the prioritization updates, rather than just looking at the overall numbers that we show in the RAD tool, which give you a broad sense but not a detailed sense. Okay, so if you have any questions on any information I've presented in this update or that you find in the update, you can certainly contact me at 303-651-8629 or email me at jim.golden@longmontcolorado.gov. Thanks for your attention today.